I'm imagining we jazz and jazz. Then it turns out it hasn't recorded anything. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sandra Aneno and I'm so excited because I get to host a long-time friend of mine. I've known her for many years. We've done ministry together, we've done praise and worship together, we've been in choir together, we've done functions together, sang at weddings together. I'm so excited to have her with me. Why? One, she's very smart. You are Pauline. I've been introduced to before.
Yes, I am very smart. Woohoo! I came with an African
out
shirt.
And like up here, she's really smart. She's experienced, she's a lover of children. That's something that we have in common. She's a mentor, she's a life coach, and she's a mother. So today she's here to discuss with us about raising the boy child. Madam, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
We're all the way at Malakai Eco Lodge, all the way in Chitende. By the way, it's very beautiful here.
You must come here.
You must come here.
Must,
like,
not have,
God.
but must.
It's really beautiful here. It's
Extremely.
Not what I would have expected, guys. Muje.
It's so. We'll take some pictures for you.
Yes, we will. So, Pauline, I'm
Yes.
so happy to have you with us.
Same here.
Before we go any further in the video, a short introduction about yourself, who you are, what you do, all those things. Hype.
Okay. You have brought me in a nutshell. You've pretty much said everything about me. But I'm a journalist.
I didn't even know that. Shame.
I'm a radio host. Yes. A voice artist. I'm a writer. Trust you me, if we had to talk about me and everything I do, we'll have to take the whole day.
And I love that.
I do so many things because the one thing I love to do, the thing about me is that I love to learn. Anything that is interesting, I will learn. Because when we were planning to get here, I kept telling you, we have to find a place that has a beautiful, atmosphere,
and here we are.
And I told you about Malakai Eco Lodge, and you said, well, I guess we are going to adventure and find out a new place, and here we are. So I just love, the spark of life, of, just learning. Being spontaneous. Yes, that's me.
So Pauline is here to talk to us about raising a boy child. You do have a boy, right?
Yes, I do. 11 years old.
Pauline, you've done a good job. Like, I see you guys need to check out on social media at Princess Pauline. The things that she talks about and the things that she writes about express intentionality. Like, she knows what she's talking about. So I am 100% convinced that she's the right person to be on today's episode.
Thank you.
Madam.
Yes.
My questions are only about 5.
Yeah.
Question number 1. I want you to talk to us about motherhood and boys, like raising the boy child. What is that like? What are the 5 things that you want our viewers to know about what it's like raising a boy child?
It's not easy. Raising a boy is not easy. It's frustrating. It's exhausting. Oh man. But it's the most rewarding blessing your son can ever have. When you asked me to talk about this, what came into mind were 2 things.
Yes.
There's one thing to conceive and give birth to a boy, and there's another, mothering a son.
Yes.
Out of that boy. It's intentional preparation every single day. You don't just wake up and say, okay, what are we going to do? Where are we going to go? It
can't be that.
It can't be that out of the blue. You have to plan according, to his level of life. And the first thing I could say is basically knowing what mothering is. It is not just the happiness of having a child as a boy.
Yes.
It is knowing that you've given birth to a nation, a man who is going to lead his generation.
I told you, wisdom. Too much wisdom.
Yeah, so for me, I had to define what mothering my son was to me, and not just for me, but for his wife in the future. Yeah,
For his children.
for
in
his
the
children
future.
in the future,
Yes.
for his colleagues in the workplace, for his friends. He's now, oh my goodness, he's pre-teening and he's telling us
Yes. He's 11, turning
yeah,
14 very soon.
and this is a new chapter in my life where I am on my knees and saying, Lord, I need wisdom for this. I think that takes me to number 2. You can never mother a son without God in the picture. You're basically wasting a lot of, your time. Because anybody else can do that, but you can never raise an excellent boy. And when I say excellent, in ways that he can echo what you have placed inside of him, the values, the principles, you can never be able to stand up and say, wow, that's my son.
Oh my God. Let me read you this quote. You'll be shocked.
Really? Why?
Even more than the time when she gave birth.
Yeah.
A mother feels her greatest joy when she hears others refer to her son as a wise, learned one.
Yes.
Isn't that your point? Like in a nutshell? Like it's not just about you. It's about his future wife, his future family, his future colleagues.
Yeah. And you see, when I go down on my knees to plan for my son, the values I need to instill in him, I'm basically saying, Lord, you gave me this gift. That's a blessing. And I need you to guide me in the way he should go for your glory, not mine, because one day I'll be out of here and he will have not me to run to, but he is going to sit down and say, how did my mother teach me to approach wise people who can guide me where I need to go? He can be able to echo and channel those energies from how he has been raised, to know that if I sit with Auntie Sandra, she is not going to allow me to become a wayward child.
Yes.
Because I know anyone who connects with my mother knows that she and he needs the best for me. And because that's what I tell him every single time. I say, anyone who loves you, whether I am here or gone, will guide you in the way that you need to go. Because they will know that with the kind of mother Pauline is, they will not just, sit back and have Joshua do whatever he wants. And trust you me, you can talk to all my friends and they will tell you the same thing.
Yes.
I said, Pauline, we know the kind of mother you are, not to just your son, even to all the other boys that we see. You cannot allow them to live a foi life, just
a floric of their own.
Yeah. And the other point is that we all need a village.
Yeah.
When it dawned on me that I was going to be a single mother, which I honestly don't like giving me myself that image.
That as a label.
Yeah. I don't want that as a label because I'm a single parent and I don't walk alone. I have God and I have people who love and care about me. Just like you. I mean, you have always been there to ask, how is Joshua? What do you need? As in, Pauline, you don't look okay. You're stressed, as in, what's going on?
And fine.
My true friends can see in the depth of my eyes that I am struggling. And I would not be afraid to tell them, I need you to take Joshua away from me for 1 week.
Yes.
I need to sober up, because it takes a village to raise a boy.
Yeah.
It takes a village to raise any child. But for a boy, it takes uncles. It takes grandparents.
Yes.
I once was in a development course in Nairobi, and I met a very lovely lady called Shalom Munyiri. And she broke down the level of interaction every child must have.
Oh, wow.
For an 11-year-old boy like my son needs a 5-year-old boy in his life. needs
Wow.
yes,
You'd never think that.
exactly, because he needs to be able to understand where he came from and how the 5-year-old understands and relates. Like you cannot treat a 5-year-old with an 11-year-old peer.
Yes.
You know, you have to be patient, you have to be compassionate, you have to be kind. And so once you harness those skills in your child's life, you are fine-tuning an excellent young man who will come to young children and not behave, like
he has arrived.
Proud.
Like he was never once.
He will
age.
care. And trust you me, when Joshua is around young children, especially the little ones, oh my goodness. Yeah, so where were we? We were talking about the different levels the children need to interact with every level a child.
Yes.
And we had talked about how, for say, my son at 11 needs a younger child to be able to understand how the little children operate. Then at his level, he needs, the pre-teening children to learn how his fellow age mates, coordinate. Yeah, and relating with a teenager and a young adult helps him to understand now the core values of life. What is his purpose, helping him to now begin harnessing those skills of how do I get to understand what God has called me to do. Not to copy or to desire what other people are doing, but to be able to
love
sit
and
with
celebrate his individuality.
Yes, exactly. To be able to sit with the different young adults to see how far they have gone with life, the challenges they've gone through, how they've tackled those challenges, how they are enjoying life, and how he can be able to actually enjoy what God has placed inside of him. Because I believe that is the place in a man's life. If you do not connect with your purpose, between your teen and young adult,
life is about to become meaningless.
It becomes a real hassle. The children, the young men begin to have a misdirection of life. Yeah, beginning to see that if it worked for the other person, it can work for me. They have not really defined
who they are and what they stand for.
Yeah, so they need those persons in their lives. And I love what God's word says in Proverbs 17:6. Children are a crown for the aged.
Yes.
And a pride to their parents. And they need to be able to have a grandpa, somebody in that realm
yes
of life to sit down with and
who
talk
has
to them.
seen it all, done it all, been around,
had experience, to just talk to them about life. At that point in their life, they'll think, well, you don't know what you're talking about. This is, our era.
Times have changed.
Times have changed. You're living in... Yes, ma'am. Yeah, you don't know what our world feels like. But in them sitting around elderly men who have seen it, heard it, experienced it, they may not necessarily apply those counsels there and then, but it will linger in their minds.
It's a seed that has been sown.
So you have to be intentional to know that, hey, I am not planting this seed for it to sprout like in 2 weeks. No, it might and it will sprout in 2 years, in
or
5
even
years,
more.
Or even more.
Yeah.
So they have to have a grandpa, and Joshua loves to be with his grandparent. He loves to be with his granddad. When I take him to see my dad, he's like, ma'am, I'm spending the night, right?
Immediately, no questions asked.
It's okay, you can go back home, but I'm spending the night. I'm like, why? I just want to be with Jaja. I'm like, why? It's like, I enjoy being with Jaja. We talk, he shows me, the things that he has learned. We do things, together. I just want to experience being with a guy. And that's, quite captivating for a young man to say that.
To say that.
To
an
understand.
11-year-old
Yes,
to say that and understand that.
and not to shun away from, what am I going to learn from this old man? He's soon dropping dead, as in what do I learn from him? But he understands that I have a granddad who has gone through life that I can learn from. I may not necessarily, capture the values right there and then, but just spending time with a man figure in his life connotes a lot of things for him. It just connects the dots. It makes him feel
accepted,
full, like a man,
complete.
It gives him that inner strength, to know that I belong. I have a sense of identity, belonging, just being around a man, like this, who is welcoming,
Yes,
and understanding, and very open about life. Because Joshua is one person who will not give you, let me see, half time. He will give you his full attention when you're talking to him. Doesn't matter what you're talking about.
But
he hears
he'll give
everything.
it to you.
He will. And trust you me, that guy has a mind of an elephant. Meet him 2 years after you have, interacted with him, and he'll remind you exactly where you met, what you said,
what you
and
are
how
putting
you,
on.
like, literally. I am very careful with Joshua because he is very intelligent and smart, and he understands.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, yo.
Yeah, so it takes a village to raise a boy, and as a mother, a single parent, or a single mother out there, you have to be intentional with who you surround your son with.
Yes.
Not just any person, not just any uncle so and so who has shown himself around in your life. No, you have to be intentional to know that this man has values that I want my son to learn. Because I know when my son hangs around this person, I know that one or two things he will pick up. Exactly.
Him, yes.
So guess what? I'll wrap this up with this. There's a book by Ham. This guy who owns those Ham buildings and has a ballistic home in Lake Victoria. Man, he saw that home and like,
and you are
just
humbled.
do this. What does he do? And in our day and AJ and UG, the first thing that comes into your mind, how did he steal?
Blood money. It can never be he worked hard for it, or maybe he's
Pauline, be optimistic. Please think positive thoughts. But I met a friend who had that book, Success, the book of success that Ham had written, the mistakes and challenges he faced, in his lifetime in becoming, rich and wealthy and all that. So you won't believe, I have not touched that book. I haven't read it. But guess who I gave it to first? Josh. Who else? I just wanted to pick his mind from what, Ham was talking about. Because we've already started talking about money.
Yes.
And we've already started talking about investments. We've already started talking about saving. As in, he always asks me, Mommy, why do you use money the way you do? Because we never get out of the house without you planning for the money you're going to use. And I'm like, yeah, because money has to be planned for. It is worked for, you plan for it.
Yes.
And then by the time you use it, you know exactly why you're using
I also
the
tell
money.
Maria this. If it's not on the budget, we're not getting those gummy bears.
Exactly. When I get into
it has to be on the budget.
You're right. When I go into the supermarket,
we know what we are going to pick.
So when he goes like, Mom, can I have a bar of chocolate? I'm like,
is it on the budget?
Is it on the budget? We didn't plan for it. And you never told me when we walked out of the house that you wanted to have a bar of chocolate. But if you had told me, I would have planned for it.
I hear you 120%.
So I told him, so we've been talking about money. I need you to read Ham's book. I was like, Mommy, who is Ham? I don't know him. He's some rich fella out there in Uganda, but
he has something to say.
He has something to say. So he read the book. He started to read, and I told him, so what have you been reading? Can you just break down the topics?
He went hard.
The one thing that captivated me about Joshua is that when he got to the part of the mistakes young men do in working towards wealth, money matters, is that they work for money to be eaten now. They don't invest. They don't think about tomorrow.
They don't make sense of their money.
Exactly. So I asked him, so how do you apply that, in your life, you as a young man? And he gave me an example, because I always tell him, when you're talking to me about your experiences, can you give me an example that has happened to you, so that I can picture what you're talking about? Because that's the exact way you're going to explain it to another child or to another person. So he said, when he was in school, his grandfather, my dad, told him, if you perform well, I will give you, how much was it? 1,000 or 10,000? 1,000 to that boy is like 100K. So it's like, my grandfather is going to give me 1,000?
Imagine. Look me like this.
Whoa, he felt like, I gotta work hard. And he did. He came and told my dad, Grandpa, I have worked so hard and I have become the best in class. And he was. And my dad was faithful and he gave him the money. He was very excited. So he goes to school and he buys a candy something.
He blows all
the time,
To whom
and
is concerned,
he felt like he was the richest dude, in school. I'm thinking, okay, and Mom, I bought like 5 pieces, kind of like 5 pieces. Wasn't that like 200 each? Yeah. I gave one. I kept for myself like 3. I gave one to my friends. I was glad that he actually did think of his friends with the money that he earned. He was not selfish, as much as he blew it off.
But he wasn't selfish.
He wasn't selfish.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so thankful for having Pauline with me. I think you see I wasn't lying. The wisdom is too much. The wisdom is too much. So as we slowly come to the end of this video, I wanted her to very quickly discuss the question, does it take a man to raise the boy child? Because you've taken us through all the challenges that can come, the things that you're advising single mothers like yourself not to do, the things that you're talking to us that are very important while raising a boy child. So in connection to that, do you think that it takes a man to raise a boy child?
It does, because when you're making the child, you don't make the child alone. Yes, when a child is conceived, there is a father and a mother in the picture.
Yes.
And it does take a man to raise a boy child, because every boy you desire to raise into a son should have a father in their life.
Yes.
Sadly, we live in an era where we have present absent fathers.
Go and watch my videos, you guys. These things are linked. These things are connected. Do continue.
Yes. For whatever reasons, and I say this for 2 reasons. How I define a present absent father in a boy's life is a father who gave birth to the child as a trophy. I always say there are son. Yes. I always have 2 stories about children I tell. Your child is either a trophy or a treasure.
The 2 T's.
Did you
hear that? Your child is either a trophy or a treasure. You decide.
You decide. If your child is a trophy, you're just going to be there whenever and ever. Whenever you please. You're not intentional. You're just happy that you have a child somewhere. You can be counted, a living man. That you have a child, a seed somewhere. You planted, and you don't care whether you take care of it, whether you're in its life. You're just happy by the fact that it made you feel like a man.
And that is what a trophy does. It just kind of like pumps you up.
But the fulfillment of knowing that you are a father is when that child becomes a treasure in your life.
Yes.
You become involved in everything. It's not easy for me to be a father, but I have to wear the mask of a father. You know that movie of Steve Harvey, Think Like a Man, act like a woman. To be honest, I just signed up Joshua for a basketball academy, and I have to be there, like for his first sessions, to pump his energy and say, son, I love you. I got your back. I've, paid for this so that you can. And for me, that intention is for him to hang around boys his age. And then he has young adults who are the coaches now surrounding him with all these disciplines and values that he needs.
It goes back to what you were saying.
Exactly,
categories and levels.
Exactly, and this is now also curving and harnessing his skills because he loves to do these things. And so I, as his mother, say, what would his father do?
Yes.
He would automatically go to the basketball store, buy the ball, buy the, jerseys and all that. And I have to wear that.
Is that a
mask.
question you ask yourself a lot? What would his father do?
Yes. I literally wear. So when you say, does it take a man? And I say, yes. For me, it's not a physical man. The success of my son's life begins with him knowing his identity. And his foundation is, to whom does he belong to? I want to be very honest. When his father, whether he's here or he passes on, he does not belong to him.
Yeah.
My son belongs to God. And so I raise my son for God. I don't raise him for me. I don't raise him, for whoever, because they will all come and go. But for as long as my son can understand his foundation for his life,
yes,
whether whoever comes and goes, he will focus his walk and journey in that direction.
Wisdom upon wisdom.
In that direction. That is why when I'm walking with Joshua and I ask him, so like, how was school? What did you do? And what are the challenges you faced? Most of those challenges are, Mom, I don't like it when my friends mock me and say, we always see your mom come to school for everything. Where is your dad? And
that's so mean.
It is.
Why would any?
I know, but they're kids.
I know, and it's bound to happen because it is what it is.
Some of these kids are not taught and guided to be kind and thoughtful to other children.
In their speech as
well.
So
at home, I have to prep my son
that there are people who are going
yes, he understands that. So I prep him in advance. So when he goes, I ask him, so how do you react? He says, I have one true father who loves me and is there for me. You don't have to see him, and he is God. He boldly says that. And I said, for as long as you connect with your foundation, that is all you need. Here on earth, there's so many things that are going to bounce off. And you have to learn to comfort yourself, encourage yourself, soothe yourself, motivate yourself, mentor yourself. And it begins with the mind.
Yes. Self-awareness.
Exactly. If I don't protect my son's mind with all the naysays and, funny talk that goes around about, oh, you don't have a dad. Oh, how are you going to grow up? Oh, my goodness, you're going to turn out a mommy's boy. And all that mumbo jumbo. If I don't protect my son's mind, he's going to crippling into, a self-pity,
kind of mood all
business.
The time. Oh, I don't have a dad.
So when it comes to now asking for me, as a father, how would I raise Joshua? It comes back to what we had talked about. Going back to the village and looking at the male figures that I have seen that have great value around them. And I boldly go and ask and talk to them and say, hey, I need your help. I need you to spend time, with Joshua. And I've seen that you're very good at handling money. I've seen that you are very good at handling your character as a person. Can you, just
speak into
his life?
Yeah.
And I make that happen. And I honestly make that happen for his sake. So if you have a father in the picture, well and good. And Sandra, I will and must say this. I never ever imagined I would be divorced and, raising a child all by myself. But this is the one thing I told myself: I will never demean Joshua's father.
Yes.
In front of my son.
Yeah.
In front of his son. Never. Why? Because Joshua is not just a product of Pauline
you
alone.
by yourself.
No. He is not a child that came out of the blue. I knew Joshua 6 months before he was born.
Yeah.
Like literally, I knew his name, and I knew that it is a boy that I wanted as my firstborn. And his father knew it. And even with the issues that we had that came along, I told him, this is your son. Whether
nothing can change that.
Nothing can change that. Whether you're in his life or not, he is your son. And he will know it from day one that, you're his father, and that he's your son.
Yeah.
And he, as a boy, will have to do his part to love you as his dad. And let God do the rest of connecting, the dots. And it occurred to me, in those moments when I was in so much pain of, why do I have to do this alone? Yet,
yet we were two.
We were together. We all had mistakes, flaws here and there. But I told him, regardless of whatever we've had to go through together, we have to raise this boy together.
Yeah.
And so I always advise and comfort and counsel young single mothers, even the older ones, never malign your son's father in front of their face, because it will come back to you.
To haunt you, by the way.
It will come back to you. So yes, it does take a man to raise a father to raise a son, but if they're not there, it's not the end of the world.
It's not impossible to raise a boy child who is disciplined and has all those good virtues.
It is possible, and it is possible with the mother taking away all the self-pity, the blame game, the
blame game.
Playing the victim. Playing the victim all the time, and basically removing yourself out of the picture and saying, this boy deserves the life that he deserves.
Yes.
Regardless of what the adults went. You know the saying, when the elephants fight,
the grass that suffers, my friend.
Yeah, so I always try to make sure that I water the grass no matter how the huge stumps get on it, so that the boy knows that he is loved, he is cared for, and that yes, as much as there's no physical father around to go to school, take him to the shops, I said, hey, I will do that all for you. But one day, maybe down the road, God willing, there will be a father figure. But for now, you need to know your foundation, and that is God.
Hi, my name is Joshua Tenda, and my mom is Pauline Amuke. And what I've learned from my mom raising me is that I should always be honest and considerate to others, and also spiritually that I should always put God first in all that I do, and in my work that I should always do my best and work hard.